Hey, good morning, Fox Pack. Welcome back to the Fox Den. Welcome back to the vlog, and welcome to another acid tree. Today, we are actually installing the Walbro 255 into the G37. For those of you who don't know what this is, it is a high-pressure fuel pump that can work for E85. If you try to run E85 on the stock fuel pump, you're shit out of luck. It's not going to be powerful enough. So you do need a bigger fuel pump to run E85, as many of you know. That's what we are about to do. So today we are going to install this thing. I'm going to show you guys how to do it. Let you guys hear what it sounds like, because I know some people are curious about how loud this thing is. Just aftermarket fuel pumps in general are known to be louder than the stock ones, so I can show you guys how loud it is and all that stuff. And yeah, it should be pretty cool. So let's do it. Alright, so first things first, we have our fuel pump. This is an install kit, and it's made for a G37 and 370, so it does fit the Walbro 255. And it's just a harness that plugs right in, so you don't have to make a custom harness. You know what, it's worth the money because you don't have to deal with all that custom stuff. The only thing you have to do is splice together your connections on the stock fuel pump, and you have to splice them onto here. So that's the only thing. The kit also comes with a new fuel filter and new hose and some clamps. So we just have to splice these into the stock fuel pump connect. There we go. So we'll do the other one, and then once we pull the stock fuel pump, we're gonna do the same thing. Alright, so first thing we're gonna do is pull this back seat. Don't ask me why there's a lollipop in here, but it's pretty easy. Now, I haven't done this in a while, but I believe there's tabs or something that you pull on. Once I figure it out, I'll show you guys, but the fuel pump should be right under there on that side. So let me get this thing pulled. Alright, so just remember how to do it. You actually pull these little tabs that are right up here, and you can see the seat lifts up. So I'll need two hands for this, so let me do the other side. Alright, so we got the seat out. That shiny stuff is actually soundproofing that I put in there long ago to reduce exhaust drone. This is the seat right here. Now we have two of these, as you can see. Now there's wires going to both, but the fuel pump is actually under that one on the passenger side. So that's the one we're going to want. As you can see, they're just like Phillips head to open that up, and then we can get at the fuel pump. We're going to open up this fuel pump cap. So yep, it would be the wrong size. Let me grab the correct size. For those curious, this soundproofing is called Noiko, and you can get it on Amazon. I actually put this in when I had the top speed exhaust to help with the drone, and it really helped. So we can just pull our cap here. It should pop right off. Alright, so once you pull this cap, this is what you got. There's a couple plugs. There's your fuel line. So we're going to undo those, which is pretty straightforward. And then there's some screws. Now you could use a Phillips. I'm going to go to the safe route, and I'm going to use a socket to undo those because I do not want to strip them. Well, shit. Be careful when you pull this. It's sprayed gas everywhere because it's under pressure. Son of a bitch. Now my car is going to smell like fuel for probably the next 10 centuries. Squeeze together these two tabs right here, and you pull your line. So let's go ahead and undo these bolts. So, to be honest, I'm not sure what size these screws are. None of my sockets would fit them. So I did it the Silver Fox way, which I'm not going to tell you what that is because I don't want you trying it and then screwing something up and then trying to blame me for it. So I broke them loose, we'll just say that, in a special way, and now I'm got it loose, and now I'm getting them loose with the screwdriver here. It's just a Phillips. Now, one thing you have to make sure you have when you do this, make sure you buy a new fuel tank gasket, because this gasket underneath this swells up and you cannot get it back on after you're done, and you're going to be leaking fuel off the bottom of your car. So yeah, make sure you can get that. And now we should be able to pull out the assembly. Now be careful with this thing, because the best way I can describe it, being especially with the amount of miles it has on it, it's basically like pulling or trying to hold a very freshly cooked chocolate chip cookie. And there's another, I can't film this, but there's another one of those clip things like in the beginning on the top of the assembly that we have to undo on this side. Same thing, if I can get it off. Alright, now I got it off. So just have some patience with that thing. This is what I'm talking about. It clips into the side here. So now we can pull the assembly out of the car and begin working on it. There is fuel everywhere, and it's starting to rain. All right, so this is the fuel pump assembly out of the car. It took like 10 minutes. It's not too hard. And there's our stock fuel pump right in the center. So we have to remove that. So what we got to do first is unplug the fuel pump wires, which are these two right here. I'm going to unplug them right from up there with two hands, of course. And then we're actually going to cut off this line, and you will be replacing that. And then the fuel pump is held in by some kind of clip. I'm going to consult the guide for that to make sure I do it right before I show you guys. All right, so we got our fuel pump wires disconnected. Now we have to remove the fuel level assembly. So in order to do that, we're also going to be unplugging those wires, which are these two right here. As you can see, as soon as I start recording, the shit doesn't come off. But how is it held in that tight? It should come right off. Oh, now I'm pulling the wire out. That's great. That's just wonderful. All right, so now we got all these wires disconnected. Make sure you take a picture of where they go, which I did. These are a pain in the ass to pull off, so be very careful when you do that. Now we're just gonna fish them through. We have our fuel level sensor, which is these two wires. Again, just be very gentle with this assembly, because like I said, best way I could describe it is handling a freshly baked chocolate chip cookie. You handle it wrong, even a little bit, it's gonna fall to pieces. And you can see this little clip here. We can pop out a fuel level assembly. So that makes a lot more room. And now we can start getting this fuel pump out of here. So believe it or not, there's more stuff to remove off of this thing. We have to remove this little clip right here. So you have to remove this. This thing is a pain in the ass. And then we can pull out top like this. Okay, so now we gotta remove this bottom or lower part. Which for that, there's two clips on each side, and we're just gonna push down on them. Of course, it's easier said than done. Do not use a screwdriver, because you're gonna end up breaking it. Just use your hands. There we go. Well, would you look at that? Look at all that junk on the bottom of the fuel filter. You probably can't see it, but there's a bunch of black junk. Okay, so the next step, you can see it. See how it's kind of sticking out right there? And it, of course, chooses to focus on what I don't want it to focus on. Now you can see it. See that little tab down there? I'm going to press those in, and then you're going to spin the fuel pump, and you can pull it out. Well, it's tricky, but once you get those clips opened up, you have to hold them, and you have to kind of spin the fuel pump at the same time. Now the pump actually pulls out from the bottom. So now we are going to actually cut this line, because you're not getting it off, and you're not going to be able to use it. Alright, so we're going to cut this hose. You can't reuse it, so just cut it off. I actually bought a kit for this, not from Z1 because it's ridiculously overpriced. I'll put a link to that in the description as well. And then we're just going to have to get the rest of that off of there, but not a big deal. But now we can pull our fuel pump out. There it is. That's your stock fuel pump. Let's get a better look at this. And here's a stock fuel pump. Stop focusing on the background! Now we are going to reuse these wires, but we're going to cut them. The focus is annoying. And what we're actually going to do is we're going to cut these wires right about here or so, and we're going to actually, as I said earlier in the video, we're going to splice them to the new pump. But before we do that, we have to do a couple other things. Next, I removed this from here. Now we have to take this and we have to drill out this little hole that you can't see right there. Alright, so this appears to be 14 gauge wire. This is a wire stripper. These are very handy. So we're just going to strip it down just like that. And you can't see it because the camera won't focus on the frickin' wire. Frickin' Canon, man. Just millions of dollars for this camera, and it can't focus on what I want it to focus. Same with this one. That's it. Okay, so you do want to make sure your polarity is correct on this. Now, these wire colors will vary depending on the year, but this color, it's like the green one, is positive. This one is negative. So we want to take this wire and splice it onto this wire. Now, if you buy this kit, I highly recommend it. It's pretty worth the money. It's like 15 bucks. This will make your life a lot easier. So we are going to attach this to that. Oh, the battery's getting low. That's nice. I'm not sure what gauge these stock wires are. They're slightly smaller than these wires. They'll work, but, and the same as before, just give it a little tug You don't have to yank on it, because if you yank on it, it is going to come out. Just make sure it's good and snug in there, and just check it. So this is ready to go. Now I act like I already knew exactly how to do this installation. That is not true. I am following a guide, and I'm just making a video out of it. You may notice that my cast is gone. Well, turns out I'm probably going to have to get another one, and I'm not actually supposed to be doing this, but I am. So anyway, these are together. Now, they're not going to be watertight. Here's the thing. This is 12 volts, or 24 volts, whatever this runs at. I'm not sure what the fuel pump runs at, but it's one of those two voltages. And the stock fuel pump, the contacts on here, just like this, are exposed to the gasoline. So you don't have to worry about making these watertight. If you really want to, you can, but I'm not going to, because that's just the way I do things around here. As long as your wires are good and tight in there and they're not going to come out on you while you're driving, you will be fine. Alright, so next we're going to put a clamp around this tube. Now the kit comes with clamps, with these weird style clamps that I don't know how the hell you're supposed to use them. So I just got some clamps off Amazon, and we're just going to use that. 19 to 29 millimeter. These might be too big. I don't know. Guess we'll find out. Yep, this is that point in the video where I start to question if I have the right supplies to complete this job. And the camera battery is starting to near the danger zone, so that's not good. Okay, so that took way longer than it should have. The clamps they supply you with, I don't know how to put them on. They're these stupid clamps. So I ended up using this. I don't recommend it, but that's how it's going to be, because, yeah, don't do what I do. This just, you need a clamp there. That's all you need to know. And, you know, you got to have the right one. Alright, so now this inside here has to be broken out, because you can't fit the new fuel pump in there, so I'm going to do that. Now we can try to insert our new fuel pump. Alright, so I wrapped something around the fuel pump, like a piece of rubber, like a coupling for a pipe or something I put around it. So now the fuel pump's in place. It's not perfectly straight, but I don't think it really needs to be. So I went ahead and took the hose that we attached to the new fuel pump and I installed it. It is a really tight fit. You don't even need a clamp for that. It doesn't even have a clamp on it stock. So that's all you need. So that's installed. Alright, so this thing, you really need a small drill bit for this. So I kind of, you can see I did make it bigger. Not a lot bigger, but it is bigger than it was. So that's all we really need. Hopefully it'll be good. So now we can start putting this all back together, and then we can put it in the car, and hopefully it'll work. Okay, so we basically got everything ready to go, so we're gonna just put everything back together in reverse and put this back on. I got, as I said, I did get the hole a little bigger, not a lot bigger, but it's gonna have to work. And yeah, hopefully everything will work properly. Alright, so here's the finished product. I did my best to clean up the wires. You have to be careful with these connectors. I actually damaged a couple and I had to replace a few. But I got it tidied up as best I could. Hopefully that clamp's gonna work. Do not use clamps like that. Use the ones they give you. I don't have the tool for it. This is just temporary. Hopefully it's not gonna leak or anything. So that's pretty much it. Fuel level sensors back in, everything's ready to go, so now we're gonna put it back in the car. And of course it doesn't rain all day until I decide to do this. Alright guys, I didn't film putting it back in because it's basically everything I showed already in reverse. The pump is in, I gave it a test, it is working. So I'm gonna let you guys hear it so you can get an idea of how loud it is and such. Of course, we have to put the seat in, which will make it quieter, but I'll let you guys have a listen. Running perfect. I've revved it a few times. It's really strong. So let's get the seat back in. Alright guys, the pump is in. It's working. It's noticeably louder than we expected with any high pressure fuel pump. It's going to be much louder than your factory fuel pump typically. So there you have it guys. That is the Walbro 255 fuel pump installation on G37 sedan. Now of course, as per usual, you do this at your own risk. I'm just giving an idea how to do it. You know, do your wiring the right way. Don't just, you know, twist it together and wrap electrical tape around it. No, just splice it together properly. You don't have to worry about it being watertight. I know some people will argue this, but if you look at the stock wiring, everything is exposed. The contacts, the connectors, you don't have to have it watertight. It's 12 volts or 24 volts. It's one of those two. You don't have to worry about being watertight. Just make sure you splice it together properly, because if that comes loose while you're driving, you are going to break down. You don't want that, so just make sure you do the wiring the right way. And yeah, just be careful with this installation, because it's kind of a job to go back and fix it, and if you mess something up, so do it right the first time. So yeah, very happy with it. It's not very loud. It's actually really quiet. It's just barely louder than stock. Next video, we are actually going to install the 600cc injectors from UPT, so stay tuned for that. And then we are finally going to tune for E85. We're going to tune for 93 first on the new parts, but then we're going to tune for E85, and we're going to see what kind of power this throws down. And I'm really excited. And speaking of seeing what power it throws down, hopefully in the coming months we can get on a dyno and see what it's actually making. So that's going to wrap up today's video, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe. Join the Fox Pack today. Hit the bell notifications to be notified when we do something stupid. Follow our page on Instagram at SolarFox Racing Group, and follow me on Instagram at SolarFoxG37, so you can see all the behind the scenes of the Acid Tree. But yeah, this is it. This is the grand finale for this car. This is just the injectors, and that's it. Well, I shouldn't say it's the grand finale of this car, because I am going to boost it someday. But the NA finale is what this is. So remember, life is too short to stay stuck, and it's only legal if you get caught. Stay foxy.